massive statement that sets the tone for pyramids forever after.
After nearly 2 decades of work, Djoser's step pyramid stood 20 stories tall, and surrounding it, an entire complex was under construction that would set a new standard for royal burial sites. To the north, a small palace was built. Adjacent to that were 2 ceremonial houses representing Upper and Lower Egypt. Around the entire complex, which was bigger than Yankee Stadium, a massive limestone enclosure wall reached 3 stories high. Today, as in ancient times, the only way to enter the complex is through a towering gated colonnade that contains the first 40 stone columns ever erected on Earth. Each one rises 33 feet, and the framework surrounding them testifies to the fledgling state of engineering in the age of Imhotep. The architect was afraid his columns might tip over, so he attached each of them to a side wall to provide extra support.
They built it this way because they did not understand that you could build a freestanding stone column. So we're in an architectural step here where they're doing trial and error.
Djoser died in 2648 BC. His 19-year reign had proven to be an age of unprecedented engineering innovation. As word of his passing spread up and down the Nile, mourners flocked from the farthest corners of Egypt to pay their last respects.
There would be a huge procession coming up from the valley with priests, with professional mourners who would be ululating and sort of ripping out their hairs and crying out for the death of the king.
It's conceivable that a young child named Snefru was there to witness Djoser's final farewell. Snefru would grow up in the shadow of the step pyramid and one day rule Egypt himself. As pharaoh, he would become obsessed with achieving engineering perfection. But his relentless quest to build a better pyramid would run head-on into disaster. In 2613 BC, 35 years after the death of Djoser, a pharaoh named Snefru ascends to the throne and founds Egypt's 4th dynasty, or ruling family. He is the son of the previous pharaoh, Huni, but his mother is just a minor queen. So to consolidate his claim to the throne, Snefru marries his half-sister, Hetep Heres, whose royal blood is more pure. Among the royalty of ancient Egypt, such incestuous alliances are almost routine.
Forget half-sister. The Egyptian pharaohs often married their true bloodline sisters. And the reason for this goes back to Egyptian mythology.
The gods intermarry. Osiris and Isis are brother and sister by marrying his sister. The king is acting like a god.
With his sights set on divine status, Snefru launches a charm offensive to secure the goodwill of his subjects. He addresses even peasants as my friend or my brother. And to transcend the shadow cast by Djoser's larger-than-life reign, Snefru embarks on a relentless quest for engineering perfection that will make him a legend.
According to the Greeks, there were 7 wonders of the ancient world, among them the Hanging Gardens at Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Temple of Diana at Ephesus, and the Pyramids of Egypt. But of all those magnificent wonders, it is only the pyramids that have survived the ravages of time and man. It is the reign of Snefru that provides the essential link between the step pyramid of Djoser, which is innovative but primitive, and the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza, 3 generations later, which is considered to be the apex or pinnacle of pyramid building. It was Snefru who really worked out the kinks through a long and arduous process of trial and error and turned pyramid engineering into a veritable art form. Snefru funded these massive building projects by beating up on his neighbors. He looted Nubia, Libya, the Sinai Peninsula, and among his subjects that earned him the title is the Smiter of Barbarians, and sealed his reputation as one of the most formidable pharaohs in the history of Egypt.
Snefru's first engineering challenge came at Meidum, a sacred burial site south of Saqqara. There, the ruins of his partially collapsed pyramid still dominate the desert landscape.
The Meidum pyramid is a puzzle. Whether it was a collapse, or whether the stone was simply robbed away, or whether it was unfinished, all of these are questions.
Meidum represents a crucial turning point in pyramid construction. The pyramid's core consisted of 8 stone steps proceeding skyward at a sharp angle. Snefru ordered his builders to fill in those steps from top to bottom with packing stones. Then he enclosed the core within a casing of polished white limestone, giving the structure the smooth sides he sought.
It's as though Snefru didn't want to take the stairs, he wanted an elevator. So he has this abstract design that pulls him right up to the sky, which is what the pyramid does. It realizes in concrete form the most immaterial of things, the rays of the sun, light.
By all appearances, the pyramid's extreme makeover was a success. But beneath its gleaming facade, there was a problem.
If you look at the pyramid today, you can see it's sort of striped, and what those stripes represent are the polished exterior surfaces of those 2 internal step pyramids. And these obviously don't have a lot of friction, so when you build something up against them, once they begin to slide, there's not much to hold them in place.
Today, 4,600 years after the Meidum pyramid was constructed, signs of its destruction are plainly visible. Just 3 of the pyramid's original 8 steps remain intact, and the outer casing added later by Snefru lies in a massive mound at its feet. Could this be evidence of a catastrophic collapse?
I believe the theory that the pyramid of Meidum was collapsed is not true. We have evidence in the New Kingdom. There is a man came to visit the pyramid, and he talked about the glory of the pyramid. If the pyramid was collapsed in the Old Kingdom, they will never talk about the glory of the pyramid.
But what Snefru did next seems to corroborate the collapse theory. In his 2nd decade as pharaoh, he abandoned the Meidum pyramid and started over at Dashur, a virgin patch of desert within a stone's throw of Saqqara. There, his engineers set out to build the first true pyramid from the ground up. But as building progressed, they found themselves on the brink of another engineering disaster.
When it was nearly halfway completed, there seemed to have been some sort of difficulty that caused some sort of structural damage that occurred.
In the internal chambers of the pyramid, there are cracks, structural cracks. And one argument is that the pyramid was built on unstable bedrock. As they were going up, the internal chambers started to exhibit these cracks, and so they had to reduce the weight.
Snefru was determined not to abandon his 2nd pyramid, despite its flaws. So his builders rushed to shore up the struggling structure, enlarging its foundation by more than 50 feet on all sides. Then, as they continued upward, they did something even more drastic. They abruptly changed the angle of incline from 54 to 43 degrees. Today, the awkward-looking monolith is known as the Bent Pyramid.
The Bent Pyramid is one of my favorites. It shows that man is trying to correct himself.
While Snefru seemed driven to complete the Bent Pyramid, there's one major piece